Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I've never found a gentleman like this. Now, I've been dealing in the broadcast world, the audio world, literally, not kidding, since I was a kid. And I didn't know that there was somebody here that can coach you to record audiobooks. Like if you're an author, you have a book, you should have an audio version of it, and you should be the one that is providing that with your voice. Nobody knows your content better than you. He helps people do that and much more. And we're going to talk again with him today. Robert Lane from Robert Lane Coaching is back with us. Welcome back. How are you?
Good. Glad to be back.
So good to have you back here. And audiobooks, big nowadays. What is the figure? I hear 83% of the population does listen to audiobooks at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. The audiobook world is growing. Another interesting stat is that in 2019, audiobooks surpassed ebooks in people purchasing.
Wow.
And that gap is getting larger and larger. Not that that ebooks aren't selling, or paperbacks and hardcovers aren't selling. They are as well. But the audiobook market is just exploding, and it's a continual growth every year.
It's so convenient. I think about it. Either you're on your bike, jogging, walking, driving. You want to read. You want to absorb this information, and you don't have time to read, and you just listen. I said it last time we got together. Audio is such a intimate medium.
Yes.
And again, if somebody has a book and you don't have an audio version, shame on you. You get to it, and you can. This is the one thing I want to share. Working in the audio arena for years, you can do it. People, you can do it. If you think my voice, no, there's no way. Yes, that's more of a reason why you should do it, because you probably sound very natural, and you'll even sound that much more when you're reading your content. And we're talking about nonfiction here. Is that right?
Correct. I mainly work with nonfiction writers, and that includes coaches who've written books, entrepreneurs, educators, teachers, poets. Anybody in that arena should definitely be narrating their own audiobook. Absolutely.
And we're gonna talk about artificial intelligence in a moment, and how we're not big fans of it, and we'll explain why in just a moment. But you don't need technical skills to do your own audiobook. You don't need to have an amazing voice. If you can talk, you can do it. And all of this stuff is what you coach people on.
Absolutely. The coaching program that I teach is called Your Book, Your Voice, and it is a 6-week program. It's basically divided up into 3 pillars. The first is setup and preparation, how to set up your recording space, and all the little technical things. And there are video modules that are part of the program that are very detailed, so anybody can learn how to do the setup. It's very step by step. The second phase is doing the actual narration, and that's where we really get into a deep dive of what it takes to sound natural, to do a compelling narration, to keep your listener engaged from beginning to end, how to be consistent. We really dive into that. Once the audio is recorded, the author sends the files to me, where I do all the post-production editing, make sure that it sounds clean, it meets the exact specifications for publication. And then the final phase is publication and marketing. So once the files are done and clean and ready to go, I upload them for publication on Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books. And then we also talk about ways to market the audiobook, and combining offers with the book that you already have published, whatever format it's in, and just a variety of things that you can do to get the word out and promote that now your book is in audiobook form, and most importantly, that it's in your own voice.
And also, I want to share too that you don't need to have a studio to do any of this. You can do it in just about any room in your house. And I'm going to share, if I may, I'm in my office studio. I'm in an office building. I'm on the air every day doing podcasts. I broadcast on the radio from here. There's nothing fancy. I don't, and Robert, I don't even have sound tiles on the wall. I lucked out because I do have carpeting and a drop ceiling, which absorbs
Mhm.
some of the sound, so you don't get that echo. But I never added that stuff. So the reason I'm bringing this up is I'm doing all this stuff over here. It's just a room. Now, I would assume that you've encountered sometimes if somebody has a hardwood floor and a little echo in their room, you help them deal with that, right?
Absolutely. We talk about, again, when you set up your recording space, not only making sure that it's, like not in the bathroom or somewhere that's really echoey,
Sure.
but also a space that you feel comfortable in, that you can work in and not have distractions or be disturbed. And part of the program is I provide the author with a microphone, professional headphones. We go over the recording program step by step on how to do recording, and I also provide and ship to the author a sound isolation screen. Basically, it's a foam that you wrap around your mic, and it has a windscreen on it, so that also helps eliminate sounds. And since it's a wraparound, it keeps sounds from bouncing off a wall and coming back into the microphone.
Sure.
So the equipment is included. That's part of the program.
It's basically a one-stop box. The box shows up and it's got everything there, and it's got you available by internet to take care of everything, and of course edit. And I guess we should share in the editing. You'll make us sound good. Like if somebody flubs up or has a pause, you'll clean it all up.
Absolutely. I was working with an author's book last night, and if there's a mistake, we talk about what you need to do, what you say, so that I know as the editor, oh, okay, this sentence goes. So we cut it out, grab the better delivery and narration,
Sure.
and make sure it's pieced all together. It's smooth. Now, I don't interfere with a person's personality or the person's pacing or their emotional depth, because that's what makes you as an author unique. And that's why you want to narrate your own book, because what you've written on the written page, your personality is there. When somebody's reading your book, they hear a voice in their mind. It may not be your voice, but as they read, a lot of people they're hearing it in their head. So it only makes sense to take what you have in your written word, which you've established your uniqueness, to bring it forth as audio in your audiobook and be consistent from written word to what you're hearing.
Let's talk about AI, artificial intelligence. And
Let's talk.
yeah, and it's getting big in literally in the last year. Yeah, I work in radio. I'm hearing that there's even an artificial intelligence radio station to replace
Huh.
humans. Yeah, it's a demo that's running right now. Um,
Yeah.
and guess what? It'll never at this stage, it's not going to work in that capacity. And I would imagine the same thing too in audiobooks. And tell us why.
Well, okay. Well, number one reason, of course, is you're the author. You've written this great book. You've published this great book. It's your story in your own voice. You've lived it, you've written it. Only you can tell the story the way it was meant to be heard. That's number one. Second, AI is an auto-generated system. So it cannot replicate you as a unique human being, all the nuances, the emotional depth. AI lacks the ability to convey genuine emotions, inflections in the voice, the things that you do when you talk, and again, preserving the voice that you have in written word. AI can't do it. It'll sound flat. It'll sound robotic. For example, I was watching YouTube the other day, and those ads pop in the middle of the things that you're watching, and a commercial comes on, the ad comes on, and it's auto-generated. You can tell, and it's really a turnoff. Even if it's something that's like, well, I might be interested in the product that they're trying to sell, but it was such a turnoff that it's like I don't even want to know about that product. And that can actually happen to you as an author if someone will listen to something that's AI generated and you've just lessened the quality of your book by having something that just is not matching up. It's a real big issue. And speaking of that auto-generated ad that I saw, there's mispronunciations.
Yes.
It was mispronouncing words, and that's bad. You definitely can't have mispronunciations in your audiobook.
The lack of emotion is so key. And even as you, Robert, as you explained it, emotion came out of you because you're a firm believer in that it's got to be delivered by the author in this instance.
Yes.
And you can even hear the passion and emotion that's coming from you as you speak about it. You will not get that in artificial intelligence. So if anybody's thinking, oh, well, you know what? I can just provide the text to my book to one of these artificial intelligence websites and they'll spit it out. It's not going to work. I'll even give you an example. I do marketing and Spanish marketing as well. I
Mhm.
needed just a two sentences delivered in Spanish. And I have a go-to Spanish voiceover person. They weren't available. And I was like, well, I really need it now. So I went online. What a waste of time that was. It really was. It just zero emotion, mispronunciation. I'm glad I did it because I learned that it's so far from being perfect or human.
Mhm.
But it was a waste of time. So for anybody that's thinking that this is another route to go, and even if you're thinking, and I hear it all the time, like, oh, my voice, I can't do this. No, I don't. Yes, you can. Trust
You
us.
can.
You can. And
Yes, absolutely you can. And, you know, but let's forget about AI for a second. If you hire a professional narrator, and they're great, but it's still their interpretation versus your interpretation. They're still going to interpret it the way that they see it written. And that may not have the same inflections or the personality that you have. And that's why it's so important to get that across. And getting back to the AI issue, a couple of things. First, don't cut corners. That can be a way of cutting corners. Let me just have AI generated. Well, why would you do that when you spent all the time and effort and money and blood, sweat, and tears to write this awesome book, and now you're going to cut corners on the audiobook? Don't lessen the quality of your product. Maintain the consistency, the integrity of your voice. And the other really important part that I wanted to add on to this is connection.
mm,
You've developed an intimate connection with your reader when they read your book. And you have to carry that through in your audiobook. And you, as a nonfiction writer, have the voice to do that, to be able to carry that special, intimate connection with your listener, who may even have your book and may be reading along as they're listening to it, because a lot of people do that.
mm.
You are talking to that listener directly. They feel like you are talking directly to them, and that establishes that intimate connection to you as an author. And that is so important, and that does not happen with AI.
I'm glad you said that because there are some authors out there that people sought them out because of maybe they've wrote a book before or they have fans or they were referred and you want to make your
Yes.
best impression. The best impression is going to be you. It's I use this analogy a lot. If going to a new doctor, not just a general checkup, but some of us might want to do this, but I'll go to the website. I'll go on ZocDoc, whatever, and I'll see a picture of them, maybe a video. I feel
Mhm.
like I want to know who they are before I get there. So I feel like I know them. I want to feel like I know the author. What better way than to hear their voice, especially if they're reading a forward in the book where they're dedicating it. Now it's really getting personal because this is people that helped them along the process of their career. So it's a game changer. It really is to have yourself read your own book.
Absolutely. And again, the audiobook is just one more way of branding yourself as an author. And when you do create your audiobook and part of the program, as this is a do it with you program, and that's why I'm there for you as a coach, because it's not just, here's your coaching program, good luck. No, I work with you, and my guarantee is to work with you until your audiobook is published. No, we can get that done in a 6-week program. If you do the work, you'll get it out there, and it'll be published on Audible, Amazon, and Apple. And we'll get that done in 6 weeks. There are other places, and I've looked, and it's like, oh yeah, sure, we'll get this done for you, with a narrator, maybe 6 months from now. No, we can get this done in 6 weeks. So, again, it's just really important to narrate your own book. You can get it done in that time frame if you do the work, and it's just another way of branding yourself as an author. And you do have clips on Audible. It's like there's a little clip, and I teach you how to do that. And it doesn't have to be very long, 2-3 minutes, so that people get an idea. They can hear your voice, and again, you're already establishing connection. We make sure that you're picking a really great clip. Because when the clip ends and the person listening is like, oh, wait, it's over? Wait, I want to find out more. They're going to buy your book because you've already locked them in. You've got them engaged. And that's really important.
Tell me about the clip again. Where do we find that? How is that used?
Like, for example, you go to Audible.
Okay.
Or even if you look up an author and they have a book, they'll show their ebook. They'll pay their paperback, hardcover if they have it, and then if it's available in an audiobook. So you click audiobook, and it'll have underneath, the picture of the or cover of the book. Sure. It'll have a sample clip. You just click onto that, and it's just a little section of the book that people can listen and hear the author narrate their book. And again, by diving deep into the techniques of how to do a great narration, it'll sound great, and people will be like, wow, this sounds like a really great book. And so people can get a little sample.
So it's almost as if somebody is looking on, let's say, Amazon, and there's a couple of pages from the book. It's a sample like that, but an audio sample.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, same thing, same concept.
Robert, do you find, okay, so six weeks, do you find that people, on average, nail it before that? They don't even need to go the full 6 weeks with the right kind of training? Yeah.
They get their audiobook recorded definitely before that time. What I want to do, the goal is that by the end of the program, I want the book to be published. Now, there is a time frame of when you upload your book to the time it actually gets published. Sometimes it's between maybe 10 days. They say 10 days, sometimes it's 10 to 20 days, depending. But the goal is to get that book uploaded and being reviewed for publishing by the end of the course. So our first group call that we have, we're off to the races. Make sure that they're any questions about setting up their space. I want them to record right away. I want them to start recording right away. Watch the video modules, get in touch with me if you have any questions, and we go through this, and I coach them through it. So I want them to start recording. And, again, in the program, it really lays out the process, so it's easy to follow. And then I want them to start sending files to me so I can get right on editing. So by the second week, you should already be recording, and if you're really into it, you're already sending me audio files.
Wow.
So yeah.
How long does it physically take to record a book? People have different pacing. Maybe takes a little ramping up. Never did this. Never talked in front of a microphone. How do I do this? On average, what do you think?
Yeah, there's a basic average on how long it takes to do a narration, and you're right, and it does depend. It does depend on the person's pacing, but you're looking at probably about for every hour, let's say your audiobook is, you're looking at an average of maybe 3.5 to 4 hours to record that hour. So like, let's say, for example, if my audiobook is like 2 hours and 36 minutes, so we'll just round it up to 3 hours. So 3 hours for an audiobook took about, let's say on an average, 9, 10, maybe 11 hours of recording.
Okay. And that's not done all at once. That's not at
Oh,
your.
absolutely. No, no, we definitely talk about breaking that up because when you do create your audiobook, it is in sections. Your book, every piece and section of your book is a separate audio file. Your opening credits is one track, is one audio file. Your foreword, your introduction, the dedication page, every single chapter, acknowledgments, closing credits are all separate audio tracks. So you may record 20, 30, maybe even 40 separate tracks. That's how it's divided up. And you need to do it that way because, like when you're listening on Audible or, another service that provides audiobooks and you want to skip to a chapter, crazy that would be to like try to fast forward through 3 hours of a book. You can just click right onto the chapter. And the way you do that is you have separate audio files, so you can go directly there.
We're just about out of time, but I do want to share or re-illustrate a point that you brought up before, Robert, in that you supply everything, microphone, everything that's needed to get this done. That's yours to keep in the program. Why am I
Yes.
bringing that up? Because let's say somebody writes their second book. They want to do the same exact thing. Would they use the same equipment and then just, whatever your fee is to edit or coach, whatever from that point forward, would it work like that?
Absolutely. That's a good point. Thanks for bringing that up, Steve. Somebody who's gone through the course, they have the equipment, they've studied the modules, and so they know how to do it. But if they want to hire me as an audio editor to do that, definitely there's a different price setup for doing editing only. And again, if they want me just to edit and even upload their book for them, great. Or some authors like, just send me the files and I'll just upload it myself, because they can do that too. That's fine. Yeah. So there's a pricing structure for just editing only. Absolutely.
So how does it start? Somebody's thinking about this, and wouldn't it be cool if somebody's in the process of writing a book and now they're planning ahead that I'm going to do the audio as well? Where does it begin with you?
It's funny because that's what happened to me. Like when I was writing my book, before I had it published, I already had in mind that I was going to do an audiobook for it. So it's actually good to do that. If there's an author who's published author who wants to get their book in audiobook form, if you're a nonfiction author, again, coach, entrepreneur, teacher, poet, you got a great published book, you want to get that into an audiobook, go to Robert Lane Coaching. Book a call with me. That's where it starts. Just schedule a call with me. I don't charge for consultation calls. Some people do. I think that's ridiculous. Just book a call with me. Let's talk about your book. I'll tell you more in detail about the program. We'll get you registered and get you into the next course. So every month, on the 20th of each month is when I close registration, because I cap it at 8 people. I don't want to work with any more authors than that, so I can really give them the attention they need. So registration closes on the 20th of each month for the next course that starts the following month, and that's how it works.
Gotcha. Well, the startling stat, and the one that we started with today, that 83% of us listen to audiobooks, that says it all right there.
Yeah.
If anybody's on the fence, I wonder if I should do this. Yeah, you should. If you're writing a book, you should. And period at the end of that sentence, and that's it. It's wait and see. And it's just growing. That's the other part of it, because we all have busy lives, and thankfully we are still reading, if you will, books, which is fantastic. And again, we're talking about nonfiction authors and self-empowerment books, anything in that arena. Robert, thanks for all the insight today. Interesting stuff, and get to it, everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much, Steve. The next time we get together, let's focus on how to do a great narration. Let's dive into some of the details of how to do that. That'd be, I think, a really good topic to really open that up, so that people who may not have confidence in their voice can know, hey, there are ways that I can actually sound great. And I think it'd be really important to share that.
I love that, and you're a great teacher, and this is what I do for a living. I can't wait till we do that. I want to listen. I'm like a sponge for knowledge. So anything, even little tips you can learn, is so important, and I look forward to that. Robert, thanks for being here with us.
Great. Thank you so much, Stephen. I'll be talking to you next.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.